Howdy folks, Pudding52, hope you are well. Not many more days in Michigan left with this weather. So we are going to get out today on Duchess, my road glide. And as I was leaving, my beautiful bride said to me, "Be careful." You know, sometimes I still worry. Makes me think about when she didn't want me to ride, buy a bike, let alone even get on one. So let's go out and take a rip and talk about it. And we are going to try out these new Indy Ridge gloves. Let's go. So whenever I go out for a ride, and I would say that 90% of the time I'm riding by myself without Mrs. Bodine on the back of the bike, she always says, "Ride safe, enjoy, have fun." And today was making me think about those days where I said, you know, I'm thinking about a motorcycle, and she lost her mind. Let me tell you the story. Because I'm hoping that my story and how I changed her mind will help somebody else that's struggling to get their wife, their spouse, their husband, their girlfriend, I don't care what, on the back of the motorcycle. And or riding themselves. So, my history real quick on riding has been that I rode a buddy's Honda for a year when I was in college, just from our off-campus house to classes. So I maybe rode it 20 times, 30 times. And then up until 7 years ago, I never rode. So I'm kind of like a motorcycle virgin to a certain extent. Ooh, it's getting a little chilly. You always know it's getting fall and winter soon in Michigan when you have to put on the heated grips, and they are nice, by the way. But I remember deciding that I wanted to start riding again. So I had the conversation with Mrs. Bodine one evening after dinner, and I said, you know, I'm thinking about riding a motorcycle again. Now, she never knew me with riding a motorcycle. We really never talked about it that much. And she says, "I'd really rather you not do that, please." And I'm like, "Why?" And she went to tell me a story about, I don't know whether it was a cousin or friends or somebody that, was out driving crazy and he got hit by a car. I don't know the details of it, but both of them passed away. So she was mentally in the, you get a motorcycle, you ride, you're going to die. Right, on the motorcycle. So she was not for it. And Mrs. Bodine, she's a great wife. She, pretty much is good with anything that I want to do within reason, of course. So she's really a positive, spouse. But she's like, "I'd rather not do this." So you not do that. So I thought about it for a while and waited a couple weeks, and I finally came back to her and I said, "Hey, I really want to ride, but let me do this first. Since I haven't rode in 30 years, and I really wasn't an experienced motorcycle rider anyway, I'm like, why don't I go take the Harley class and then kind of see if that, how that goes, so I can learn some basics. And if I do, at that point I'll be safe, right, or safer." She's like, "Well, I really still don't want you to do it, but okay." So I went and took the Harley rider course, 4 days. I don't know if they call it the Riding Academy or something like that. And it was awesome. And by the way, if you're a new rider, I would strongly suggest that you attend that class or something like that, because it taught you a lot of stuff. There's still 2 or 3 things that I remember my instructor told me that I remember to this day, especially if I'm riding on technical riding. So I took the class, and I'm like, okay, but I need to try to make her feel at least a little comfortable with this. I'm like, I'm never going to get her on the motorcycle, so it's going to be me, and I want to see how I can get her a little more comfortable. So I said, let's go out to breakfast. So we went out to breakfast one day, and this is maybe a little conniving, but I said, hey, I want to stop by the Harley place because I just did the training there. And this was in Brighton, Michigan. That dealership has since closed down, unfortunately. And I just want to go by and check out a couple things. And she goes, I know where this is going, but okay. So we went by the dealership and looked at some bikes. I actually sat her on a bike, and she's like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like this. It's still dangerous. I don't think you should do this. But, and we just kind of, I would say I nudged her into it a little bit. So, again, I'm trying to go smooth. I'm not trying to just go buy a motorcycle and then come bring it home because happy wife, happy life. By the way, some lady came up with that saying. I think we should figure out how we stop that. Happy husband, happy life, or something is how it should be. But, so, about a week and a half later, I didn't say anything. One night she said, so have you thought about the motorcycle more? And I said, yeah, I do. I really want to buy one, but I want to buy a used one to make sure that I'm going to like it, that I can do it safely, but I want to make sure you're okay with it, right? And she said, okay, why don't you go ahead and do that? So I'm like, okay, the door is opened. So I bought, and if you follow my channel, you'll notice I bought a Suzuki C50, M50, something like that. That was for sale down the street from my sister's house. And I rode that for a while, about a month. She looked at it, didn't like me on it, told her I'm just doing local roads until I get used to riding, and no freeway riding or interstate, none of that stuff, right? And then, after that month, I decided that I wanted to upgrade to a newer bike, and that I wanted a Harley. So that's when I went and bought a 16 Street Glide Special. Still, Mrs. Bodine was like, no go. I'm like, why don't you get on the back of the bike and ride with me? She's like, nah, I don't want to do that. And so I'm like, okay, still riding. Finally, one day, I put a backrest on it, and I said, hey, you interested in going for a ride around the block on a motorcycle with me? She's like, okay. So we rode around the block, and she's like, oh, that wasn't too bad. That was just the start. Then we started riding a little bit more, going further and further. Then we met some friends, Harley Dayrider and his bride, and we started riding with them. And then she realized that the Street Glide Special was an awesome bike for me, but now she was turning that corner on wanting to ride. So I'm like, oh man. Needless to say, she, one day with some urging of a friend of mine, she said, I like this riding, it's not so bad. Why don't we upgrade the bike to a bigger touring model? Don't have to twist my arm. Then I bought an 18 Ultra Limited, and we've never looked back since then because she just really loves riding. I do think that, especially somebody that's a new passenger, I think they got to get used to everything. They got to get used to riding on the freeway. They got to get used to riding next to a truck. They got to, all of that stuff. You just got to bring them in slowly, which is what I did with her. And, this summer we went on a 1,600-mile ride on vacation. So it really worked out. And now, though she doesn't want to ride all the time, she still, I would say, wants to get on the bike a couple times a month and go out to lunch or do some longer ride, which is pretty cool. But she definitely went from, no way, not riding, not doing it, I don't want you to do it, to just loving being on the motorcycle. And to me, if I was going to give any advice, it is take your time, do it the right way, make sure that they're kind of bought in. Otherwise, it won't be fun for you. They'll be worried about you all the time. It just wouldn't be good. So I probably would have not, I hate to say this, I probably would have not bought the motorcycles if she was in the state of mind she was when I first brought up the idea. I just wouldn't have done it because it was you could tell that it was stressful even talking about it to her. So I didn't want her to have to go through that. But I'm glad she kind of turned around from, me taking a rider safety course, because I do believe that a new passenger also needs to, and it happens over time, not only feel confidence riding themselves, but feel confidence in your abilities. I think that is critical on how much they may want to ride with you. I will tell you that when I first started riding, I took a turn to stop into a parking spot in front of a restaurant way too quick, and you know how that goes when you make a quick late turn and then hit the brakes hard, and we just kind of tipped over, right? So I thought I was done then, and she's like, oh, no big deal, I'm fine, So, but I think that over time that confidence gets better for them. And then I think taking her by the dealership without going there to buy one, kind of getting her used to the environment, or getting her used to the people that are there, maybe get involved with some, hog chapter if you're a Harley person or something else, really, really helped. And again, now she loves riding. So when she says be safe when I go out, I know that she means it, and I know that she's come a long, long way from I don't want to ride to a woman that had a broken hip within the last year, rode in pouring down rain 400 miles on the interstate next to trucks just for a vacation. So your spouse or significant other can do that too. Just take your time. And if you're ever looking for some advice about that, give me a call and let me know. And hey, when I started off this video, I talked about these new gloves. These are Indy Ridge gloves. I know that Bry the Biker and I believe Chopper Fett have these things and love them. So I thought I would try them out, and they need a little breaking in so far, but they seem pretty cool as I ride with them for, the rest of the year. In the spring, I'll give you my feedback on these next year sometime, but they are pretty cool looking, and they are definitely warm. So that is it, folks, for me. Thanks for checking in the channel. Be safe, and don't give up. That person may ride with you, and if they don't pressure them. That's okay. Still fun to be out on the bike by yourself. Be safe, everybody. Check on a friend, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.